Welcome back, y'all. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I am your host, Bull. Today, we're going to be talking about Penn State versus Notre Dame, just going through the matchup stuff. And obviously, I know mostly everybody that's going to be in here will be Tennessee fans, so we can talk about any type of Tennessee stuff that y'all want to. But I did want to kind of get into this because I think this is going to be a really good game. Not too many people have been talking about this one, but these two teams are so evenly matched. I mean, it's going to be, I think, it's almost like mirror images, but this one's going to be really good. Obviously, the one coming up tomorrow for the semifinal playoffs, Ohio State versus Texas. That one's going to be really good too. But we will go on ahead and kick this thing off. First off, please do make sure to like and subscribe. But we're going to start this thing off with just some of the matchup breakdown stuff, just like we normally do. Now, this is going to be from covers.com. This is where, I go to this site sometimes, especially now, for some odd reason, y'all, since we got into playoff time, bowl season, the stats and all that type of stuff, it's not as easy to find. So this one actually has everything kind of laid out for us. So we'll start off right here talking about Notre Dame's offense versus Penn State's defense. And the first thing that I'll always look at whenever we're talking about playoff football is, can you run the football and can you stop the run? We'll also take a look at some of the individual playmakers and stuff up front for both teams and see how all that type of stuff matches up. But to start off with the offense, we can see that Notre Dame is ranked number 53 in total offense, and Penn State's defense is ranked number 4. So there is a difference right there for sure. But again, styles do make fights. And as we come on down, let's look at the rush yards. Okay, so Notre Dame is ranked number 13 in rush yards, and this is going to be across the entire country. And Penn State's rush defense is ranked number 8. So if you're just kind of like looking at most of these stats, it really does favor Penn State. I mean, really, if you look at the green arrow on both sides, the green arrow that's pointing towards, whichever side, that's the side that's winning. You see most of the green arrows are pointing towards Penn State's defense, and that's just with this little part of it. But let's also talk about the pass yards. Notre Dame's pass offense is ranked number 110, and Penn State's pass defense is ranked number 26. So whole lot of things right there to me is pointing towards, Penn State they are looking like they might be able to pull it out. And, at the end of this, I will tell you who I think is going to win. And I can tell you this right here, right now. I'm going for Penn State just because my brother did play for Coach Franklin. So, I mean, I've told y'all that before that, hey, if there's any team that's left that I'm going for, it will be Penn State just because of James Franklin. I don't really too much care about all the Big Ten stuff. Now, I would hate for it to be a Big Ten versus Big Ten national title. But, it just kind of is. It just is what it is. Like, if Tennessee's not in it, then, it's almost like, who cares? But let's come on down to the rest of the stats. Right here with sacks given up. So Notre Dame is ranked number 20th in sacks given up. They're only giving up like 1 sack per game. They have a really good offensive line, and Penn State does as well. But Penn State's pass rush is also pretty solid. We can see that they're ranked number 34 in the country, averaging 2.6 sacks per game. And I want to say that Tennessee is like number 42 in this same category, just in sacks per game. So just as a point of correlation. Now let's look at the points. So Notre Dame is ranked number 3 in the country in points per game. They're averaging 37.7 points per game. And Penn State is ranked number 7. They're, giving up 15.8 points per game on defense. So again, to me, a lot of that stuff looks like it favors Penn State's defense over Notre Dame's offense. Now let's take a look at Penn State's offense versus Notre Dame's defense. This one it's pretty similar, where Notre Dame's defense, if you look at most of these categories, they are winning, but Penn State is winning, I think, in 1 or 2 more than Notre Dame was. So first and foremost, in total offense, Penn State's ranked number 28, and Notre Dame is ranked number 7 in total defense. 2 very good defenses. Both of these teams are run first, okay? They lean on their run very much so, and we will, again, get into some of the individual players and stuff, talk about the differences between the quarterbacks. Let's come on down to the rush yards. Penn State is ranked number 20th in rush yards per game, 202 yards per game, and Notre Dame's defense is ranked number 33. They're giving up 128 yards per game on the ground. Now, let's come back down to the pass yards, and Penn State's pass offense is ranked number 60. They're getting, averaging about 234 yards per game through the air, and Notre Dame is number 4. So they're limiting their opponents to 167 yards through the air. Obviously, there will be a difference in the strength of schedule for both of these teams, but really at this point, it might be pretty evenly matched because Notre Dame, they played up against Georgia here recently, and I think that it looks very good playing up against them. And, I have maybe I have a little bit more respect for the Big Ten. I think it's more about their coaching. It's not so much about the talent, because the difference in talent on each individual roster from SEC to any other conference, it really is not close. You have a couple of teams in the Big Ten that might be comparable. Obviously, Penn State will probably be one of those teams. But from top to bottom, for me, it's more about there is a drastic difference in the coaching. And I think that, we've talked about this before. I would take either one of these teams, DCs, if Coach Tim Banks will not be returning for Tennessee next season. Now, let's talk about the rest of the stats. Sacks given up for Penn State. They're ranked number 25. They're only giving up 1.3 sacks per game. Notre Dame was at 1.2. Again, very, very similar with all these numbers. And Notre Dame's defense is ranked number 30th in sacks that they're getting every game. They're getting about 2.6 sacks per game. Now, let's take a look at the points. Penn State is number 25 in points scored per game. They're getting about 33.7. And Notre Dame is ranked number 2 in points given up, 13.6. So, again, this is going to be a battle of the defenses. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this bad boy on down. Let me get to a few of these chats right here, because I see a few people are chiming in. Actually, excuse me, let me get rid of all of this stuff. Oops. Okay, there we go. My bad. It was going back and forth. All right, so from SEC football, we're going to get to you first. And he's saying that I wish Tennessee was playing. I do too. Hopefully next season we can get over that hump. And if Tennessee had maybe any other matchup, I think that we might be playing. I would feel good, about Tennessee's chances versus anybody else. At this point, Ohio State they look very good right now. They're playing totally different. And, we'll talk some about that tomorrow with that matchup. But as for today, I think that a lot of the reason that these two teams are here is because they take care of the football and their defenses get after that passing. You got to be able to do that. Tim Banks, for some reason, just totally got away from that this season. So from Chris Brown, what's going on, Chris? Saying pulling for the Irish in this one. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I really don't, I would like to see James Franklin win, but I'm not going to be, it's not going to make or break me for either one of these teams. From Garrett Willis, what's going on, Garrett? Saying go Notre Dame, I guess. Yeah, so I wonder why some of y'all aren't going for tennis or are not going for Penn State in this one. I guess it's because they're from the Big Ten, but it does kind of feel like Notre Dame's gotten to a point now where it's easier to actually cheer for them, root for them, and all that type of stuff. As SEC football saying, do you think Tennessee goes after Carson Beck? I'm going to say hell no. There is no way in the world. I wouldn't even want Carson Beck. Would not take him. I would take Nico all day over Beck. He had everything built up around him for the past couple of seasons. And I think that wherever he goes next, he's not going to look as good. Everyone's saying he might go down to South Florida. If he does that, he's going to see, man, that I don't know if that offense really fits his playing style. You need to have some sort of a running game for Carson Beck to succeed. Some sort of a running game, at least some sort of a threat of it, some sort of a thought of it. Miami really don't have that. I think that they run like an air raid offense. I hate to say it, but he might struggle in that offense. He might, his draft stock might go backwards. So I don't know. I mean, he's going to have a great time down there, but I don't know if that's the best decision for him. We will see. So let me see what else SEC football is saying. I had to ask. You never know. Yeah, I mean, he's not one that I would want personally. But I know that some people might think that he will be better than Nico. I disagree thoroughly. So let's get into some of these stats right here from Pro Football Focus, just comparing Notre Dame and Penn State. And right here, we're starting off with the offensive line with the pass blocking. And I actually have this thing in order according to the least amount of pressure rate. So up a very low pressure rate. But at the same time, I can tell you, man, Penn State is not that far off. It's not really any high pressure rates. Really, until you get down to the bottom, you look at Notre Dame's tackles. They're 2 tackles, and that's still not high, 5.1% pressure rate, and then the other one at a 7.4% pressure rate. So this probably is a place that you might anticipate maybe Penn State can hold up a little bit better for their quarterback and have more opportunities to throw the football down the field and not have to lean on the running game quite as much. So, but really, again, man, just look at how evenly matched and balanced all of this stuff is. So I think that it is pretty impressive what both of these coaches have done with their rosters. Now let's come on over and look at the total team, the total team pass blocking grades. Okay, so number one, Notre Dame has given up 19 sacks according to Pro Football Focus. These numbers will probably differ from what you see with ESPN.com or maybe some other places that you get your stats from. Typically, I get mine from ESPN. So I've noticed that with Pro Football Focus, they tend to typically show less sacks given up. But either way, right, because this is an even playing field right here. We're seeing the Notre Dame giving up less sacks than Penn State. So Notre Dame is at 19. Penn State is going to be at 21. Just as far as the pressure is given up, we're seeing 154 to 155. I want to say that Penn State throws the football more than Notre Dame does. Don't quote me on that, but their pressure rate is going to be lower than what Notre Dame's is, even though Notre Dame is giving up less sacks. So, I think with all that being said, again, I think that you have to get the edge as far as pass pro. You might have to give that to Penn State tonight, and that's always a place to pay attention to in these sorts of games. Now, let's take a look at the pass rush. So, Abdul Carter being up at the top, this one is going to be in order based off of the hurries, okay? So, whoever got the most hurries will be up at the top, and obviously, as a consequence of that, it's going to be the players that have the most sacks as well, typically. So Abdul Carter, it sounds like he's got a real serious shoulder deal, but if he can go, he's probably going to go. How banged up is he? You know what I'm saying? Because you can go and you are productive over the course of the season, but how are you going to look tonight with your shoulder maybe not at 100%? Can he tough through that? They'll shoot him up with whatever they have to. If he plays, that's going to make a huge difference in this game. So, 11 sacks on the season. His win percentage is at 23, and his pressure rate is at 18.3. And, after that, we've got another Penn State player, Danny Dennis Sutton. He has 7 sacks. And on the season, his pressure rate is at 15.2. His win percent is at 14.2. I believe that he is going to go. And then we have a guy from Notre Dame, okay? Raul Mills. I hope that I'm saying all these guys' names right, just because I don't know these teams very well, not like Tennessee. But he's got 8 sacks on the season, which is obviously that's really, really good. And his pressure rate is at 11.7%, and his win percentage is at 14.1%. So, I mean, you can tell that there's several players for both of these teams that do a good job of getting sacks. This is not going to be everybody, but these are the players that play the most. It's not going to be as deep as you might see with Tennessee, right? Just because obviously we rotate in so many bodies. Rare to see that many guys getting rotated in for any other team, but especially in the Big Ten, and obviously with Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't really rotate as many bodies up front. I know that they are shorthanded. I believe one of their defensive tackles. We'll see how that we'll see how that goes over the course of this game. That could hurt them because they're already kind of thin there. Again, they don't rotate that much. Penn State will rotate in even more. Okay, they rotate. It's not going to be again as much as Tennessee, but I would say that they're going to rotate 7, 8 guys, and they can stay fresh over the course of a game. So that's how that looks. Now let's look at the team numbers just as far as their pass rush goes. And right here, what we're seeing is there's 40 sacks for Penn State. There's 38 for Notre Dame. And the sack percentage is 7.4 for both of these teams, which obviously that's pretty good. But it's also crazy how even so much of this stuff is. But yeah, I mean, I would say that both of these teams, they can definitely get after that quarterback. And then the other thing that I want to look at, if you look at all the way to the far right of the orange box, is going to say QK pressure rate. So that is just the quick pass pressure rate. That is getting pressure before 2 seconds. And the thing that's crazy is Penn State is at 32.2%. Notre Dame is at about 26%. So that right there, being able to get pressure that quickly, that will for sure make a difference in this game, because both of these teams are going to have to at some point put the ball in the air. But I think that they will lean on their running game a lot. We will also take a look at some of the stats just as far as the running and all that type of goes, and all that type of stuff goes. Let me get to Corey Aldridge right here saying, I think Penn State wins 24-17. Go Big Orange. Okay, I actually like that score prediction. Let me pull up right here. Just bear with me, and we'll get to some more of these stats here. And I want to start off with Notre Dame. We'll look at their player stats first. So let's take a look at how some of their stats look for their players. Okay, so right here, I believe. No, okay, so that's not the right one. Right here. Okay, my bad, y'all. Here we go. All right, so just looking at their stats, right? And let me get this out of y'all's way. But just looking at their stats over the course of the season, come all the way back up to the top. So their quarterback, Riley Leonard, I believe he transferred in from Duke. He hasn't done a whole lot passing. If you look at his numbers, 18 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. They're saying he was sacked 15 times. He's not doing a whole lot through the air. He doesn't really need to. I think he only threw for like 90-something yards, if even that, versus UGA, and they still got the win. Could do, very similar things. Just take care of the football. His touchdown to interception ratio, it's not horrible. Really, for them, it's about their running back. So Jeremiah Love, 148 carries this season, over 1,000 yards, averaging 7.3 yards per carry, 16 touchdowns on the ground. What's even more, impressive is that Riley Leonard is almost getting as many. Actually, he has more carries, 149 carries, less yards, averaging 5.6 yards per carry, and he has 15 touchdowns. So that's the thing. Whenever you have a quarterback that is capable of throwing, he might not have the best skill set just as far as the passer goes, but he can throw the football. I think he can really make all the throws. It's not going to be great, but he can get it done. But him being a true dual threat to this extent, that can put a lot of pressure on a defense, especially a defense that does rely on getting pressure, because you have to be a lot more disciplined as far as your pass rush lanes and all that type of stuff. You have to stay inside of like run fits, so they can't really pin their ears back unless they can get Notre Dame in a long, down the distance where it's an obvious pass situation. So I think that could most definitely offset a lot of the pass rush from Penn State. But they also have another running back, Jadarian Price, with 110 carries, averaging 6.5 yards per carry and 7 touchdowns. But their offensive line, man, we talked about their pass pro, but their run blocking looks really good too. So, there's a lot of things that you have to like about what they have, just with the base of their offense. Run the football, take care of the football, and throw it off of play action whenever you have to. Now, just as far as throwing the football, who are they going to be going to? Up the top with their wide receivers, we're going to have Bo Collins, who has 37 catches on the season for 458 yards, averaging 12.4 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns. They're not going to have too many guys up here that are going to absolutely wow you, but they're spreading things around. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown, 3, 2, 1. See what I'm saying? So it's like they're spreading it out a lot amongst all their players. They've got some really good tight ends too. So Mitchell Evans, he does a nice job, of going out and doing things for them. But what I like more about their tight ends is how they use them running the football. They're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, and they do a great job blocking. So we all know that Tennessee did get Holden Stays from Notre Dame, and he played a lot for Tennessee. I think he might have been like tight end number 2 for them last year. So they definitely have plenty of talent, and we are going to switch it on over, and we'll talk a little bit about how Penn State's offense looks, just as far as all of their playmakers and things like that with the stats from ESPN. Bear with me for just a minute, and I'm going to get this thing up for you. All right, so right here, all right, let's pull up Penn State. Let's talk about what they have going on. All right, so with Penn State, listen, their quarterback, I think that he's good. He's better than people are giving him credit for in a lot of the situations. So, we're seeing right here, he's completing passes at about 67%, which is very, very good. Going to be very similar offense. Work off of the play action, right? Run the football, work off of the play action. But he is a lot more efficient as a passer. So he's got 24 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions. He's been sacked 18 times on the season. And, if you come on down and take a look at their rushing numbers, and we have up at the top, Katron Allen, 201 carries on the season, over 1,000 yards, averaging 5.1 yards per carry, only 8 touchdowns. Then we have Nick Singleton, over 1,000 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. And then we've got the quarterback, who's another dual threat guy, averaging 3.2 yards per carry and 6 rushing touchdowns. So very similar for both of these teams. Now, the difference right here, y'all, is going to be that Penn State actually has a go-to pass catching threat, and it's going to be with their tight end Tyler Warren. Is like 6'6", 260 or something crazy. He's a mismatch nightmare. I don't know who can really cover him. I'm sure that Notre Dame will have some sort of a plan to try to stop him, but Notre Dame plays like a lot of quarters coverage. You'll see some man coverage. They're going to have to try to bracket him. That will be my game plan in this one. Hey, look, Tyler Warren, you're not going to take over this game from a pass catching perspective, but on the season, 98 catches, over 1,000 yards from the tight end position, and he has 8 touchdowns. So that is extremely impressive. Very, very good football player. And then pretty much outside of that, y'all, there's not a whole lot of threats for Penn State on the outside. So Harrison Wallace, he's got 4 touchdowns on the season, over 700 yards. He would be their second go-to guy. And then it drops off significantly. You've got Evans right here with only 21 catches on the season, but 5 touchdowns. And then you have the running back, Nick Singleton. He would be actually like the 3rd leading pass catcher with 39 catches on the season and 5 touchdowns. So what I do like about Penn State's offense, excuse me, is that I've noticed that they do a really good job of kind of, trying to spread things out. Like they'll keep you on your toes, but it's really more about can you stop the run? And Notre Dame has a very good run defense. We kind of already talked about the stats and stuff with the pass rushers and things like that. But that's pretty much how all that looks, just from all of those different perspectives. But I would definitely say for me, man, just looking at how both of these teams are so similar and built from I would say from the front end to the back end, and really like the mindset of both of these teams. It's hard to call it. I mean, this one could go either way for me, but if I had to pick a team to win, man, I kind of want to say Penn State, just because if you look again, they've got the better quarterback. I think that they at least have one true pass catching threat. But it's hard. It's because I think Notre Dame's defense might be better than Penn State's defense from top to bottom. So actually, before we get into my pick, let's pull up what the spread and everything looks like real quick. And then we can do it that way, because I think that right now, actually, and y'all tell me if I'm off on this, but it looks like the spread is is dead even, because it says off, and I don't know what off means. I'm not a big gambler or anything like that, but let's go ahead and pull this up. So right here, okay, the game is going to be in Miami. Speaking of South Florida, it's going to be in North Miami. Miami Gardens. Man, I'm a little bit jealous of them to be able to go down there. So this is the Orange Bowl. And like I said, it's saying PSU off. I don't know what that means, but I think that it might be dead even as far as what the spread is. Earlier, I think that Notre Dame was favored by 1 point. The over-under is going to be 44.5 points. So for me, I would put my money on, I'm just going to go with Penn State. And I'm going to say that because James Franklin has been coaching longer. This might come down to like a coaching battle. James Franklin's been doing it longer. Marcus Freeman, he's still kind of new to coaching on this level, being a head coach on this level. So I could see maybe giving a slight edge to Penn State and James Franklin just based off of that. But man, I literally, it is such an even matchup. It is this one's very tough for me to call. But I'm just going to go ahead and say Penn State. And if you get, I would say that Penn State could maybe win this one by, I can see them winning this one by about 3 points. I think it's going to be very close. So final score for me, I think it's going to be very, very low scoring. I'm going to go with Penn State 24, and I'm going to go with Notre Dame 21. That's where I'm going at with it, and that would actually put us over. So I think that this game could go over, but just because it's going to be such a defensive struggle, so I could really see it going either way. But that's pretty much where I'm at with this. Those are my thoughts. Let me see what. So Corey Aldridge is saying, yeah, it's even. Okay, yeah, so it is even. So it was Notre Dame by 1.5 points. Yeah, so interesting, man. Dead even game. This was going to be really fun. Very much looking forward to it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much it for all of my thoughts on this. Again, if y'all have any Tennessee stuff that y'all want to talk about, we can talk about that. But this one for me is pretty much straightforward. It's just going to be about who can run the football better, who can stop the run better, who can take care of the football better. We've seen that Notre Dame will go for it. They'll fake punts and things like that. I think that Coach Franklin would do the exact same thing. How quickly do they want to get into that, right? Like how quickly will you see that coming out from Marcus Freeman, or even from James Franklin? Do they have to pull it out? I don't know, but that's pretty much where I'm at with it, y'all. I just wanted to kind of get in here real quick because we said that we would come back and chat it up with y'all. But if there's no more thoughts, then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. And we might catch y'all after the game, but more than likely we'll be catching y'all tomorrow. We will probably have something doing like a little bit of a pregame with Texas versus the Buckeyes. Now, I've done a lot more research on both of those teams and things like that, and I have a lot more thoughts. I think that matchup is really even more interesting. It's not too much to kind of put into this one. It's pretty much straightforward because it's almost the exact same team, I think, on both sides. So thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we will catch y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.